All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen, to another version of Open Live Q&A. My name is Mr. McLogan, and in this live stream, I am happy to take whatever questions you guys have. I know midterms are probably coming up, and you might have a few questions that you can go ahead and submit, and I'll try to do my best on answering those. If you have any just general questions, then feel free to add them into the chat. I am happy to be able to add another live stream as last week. I just couldn't make it work with my schedule. So I do apologize for that. But that is one thing that I'm looking into. Always remain consistent and show you guys on these Sunday live streams for you guys. So therefore, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them down in the chat. And I will always try to do my best to answer them any way that I can. And let me see. Oh, yeah, Rain. All right. We got that going in. Explain theta. Well, let me know a little bit more what you mean with theta. Basically, theta is going to be, a lot of times we're using it as a variable unless you are referring it to some specific instance that you want me to further explain in that part. So let me know a little bit more context. But if you have any math questions, then I left the chat right up there. Or I'm sorry, the link right up there where you guys can also go and submit some questions, which I do have from some previous ones. And one thing I tried out, and I'm going to continue doing it, is also even making some longer form videos on the question. So if I'm not able to answer the question directly on the stream, then one thing I would check out is the new playlist that I'll be working on, where you guys can actually go ahead and submit those questions, and I'll actually make a video on it where I can go in a little bit more depth and stuff like that. Manic channel, good to have you on. Career after Bachelor's of Science in Maths particular. Well, I mean, there's so many options. I think that's one of the best things about having a degree in mathematics is you really get to explore what is really going to be the right fit for you. And I remember when I was in college, a lot of my roommates were business majors, and I was like, why would you take a business major? Like, I don't know. It didn't seem like it was specific enough, whereas I was going to be school to become a math teacher. And one thing though that I've now kind of like reflecting back on is like business was actually a really good major because it set such a good foundation that no matter what they decided to do, when they've changed their careers multiple times, they had that foundational like business understanding from having that business major. And I think mathematics is very similar to that. When you have a bachelor's of mathematics, you have that strong foundation. And there's a lot of things you can do. And you might try something for a couple of years and just realize, this isn't really maybe the right fit. But nobody can take away what you've learned. Nobody can take away that foundational knowledge. And I think it's really helpful to feel like we're not pigeonholed, especially when we spend so much money, spend so much time going to university. And I remember when I first became a teacher, I was kind of worried. I'm like, I put in all this effort and time into becoming a teacher. I'm not sure if this is going to be my career. Now, obviously, I ended up staying in the classroom for 14 years, so it worked out well for me. But I know a lot of people, and you've probably heard stories of people go and get their degree, and then they never use it ever again. They ended up going into a field that had nothing to do with the degree they got. So I think it really is good to have those, majors that are going to give you a good foundational knowledge. And then after that, you get to really explore what's going to be the best. And I think there's no better advice that I can give to you than keep on gaining knowledge, keep on gaining experience, keep on trying different things. Because even if your first job that you go into or your first career or whatever else, as long as you're gaining all of those experiences from there, you're going to make yourself more valuable. And that's more valuable in the marketplace, more valuable to an employer. And then what you turn yourself into is somebody that is indisposable, right? They have to have you because you have all these different experiences that you bring to the table. And I think that's something very, very powerful that you can do into the marketplace. If you decide to open your own business or do anything or become part of a company, I think that's really, really important. So I would just explore, keep on trying different things, keep on gaining experiences. That's the best advice I can give you. Hey, JC, I currently say I'm currently cramming to do all my homework by the 12th. I'm assuming the 12th, but just want to say thank you so much for your help. Well, you are very welcome. Make sure you're taking your breaks, right? Cramming is, something that I know this time of the year, we have a lot going on. You have a lot of courses, that you have to get yourself prepared for, right? So just make sure you're setting yourself a time, not only to put in the work, right? But don't try to do 4-hour sessions, like try to do little increments over throughout the day. but also make sure you're setting yourself time to give your brain some time to relax, because you have to be able to rest and rejuvenate your brain and between each of those sessions. So therefore, each and every session you can be more successful. So just make sure you're inserting those breaks as you are cramming, and best of luck. Hey, Araf, good to have you on. I have some upcoming exam. Please explain completing the square method. I'll be more than happy to do that. If you have maybe a problem you want to submit, or if you want to submit that into the link that I have above, brianmclogan.com/Q&A, that'll be a little bit easier for me to remember after I kind of go through the questions inside the chat. I'll get into the math and I'll bring up my whiteboard. So if you want to submit that question, then I'll kind of talk. I can talk a little bit more in depthly about completing the square. I actually never had to teach the Kramer's rule. I took it when I was in college, but I never actually had to teach, go back from there. So it'd probably be too long for me to actually go back through all the Kramer rule stuff. So it probably won't be something I'll address on the live stream. Well, awesome, Tyler. So happy to have you on. So happy to be able to help you out. Please make a video about graph of rational functions, deep and brief explanation. Deep and brief. So which one is it? Do you want it deep or do you want it brief? Or do you want kind of both? So I have a ton of videos, and usually my process has always been to take things short and to the point, give you much information, but we can go deeper on things. And maybe that is something that I can put into a longer video. But if I'm going to go deep, it's going to be more like me being a teacher inside the classroom, and it's going to be about 30, 40 minutes. And I don't really like teaching in front of my whiteboard for 30, 40 minutes, or making at least a video for on that long. But if that's what you're looking for, something that is to the point, but also in depth, then let me know down below. And that might be something I will put up on my channel. Of course you can. Absolutely. Coefficient of 5, p is 0, p of 1 equals 1, p of 2 equals 2, find p of 3 is a cubic polynomial with the coefficient. So if you want to go and submit that to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, I'll go and take a look at that a little bit more in depthly. But I'm looking in here, we already have your A, which is going to be 5. So you're going to have a cubic form, and then it looks like you're going to have to do a systems of equations for all of those values. So you're going to have 1, 2, and 3. And so you have 3 points. And then you're going to want to create a systems of equations, I believe, to find your coefficients of your of each of those terms. Yes, sir. Hey, JC, good to have you on. Hey, Daniel, no question, but just wanted to say thank you. Your video is you've made over 15 years ago. That's crazy. Helped me through my math today. Whenever I had stuck, I ran into your videos. Well, thank you so much. And it's crazy that videos like that long ago still live on. And that's why I continue making videos. Like, it's funny, my daughters, now they are old enough to, watch videos on YouTube and stuff like that. And obviously there's good stuff on YouTube, and there's obviously, we all know stuff that we should not be spending our time, wasting away our time watching some content on YouTube. And they started getting into some of those videos, and I'm like, why are you watching this? This is just mind dump stuff. And again, I'm not saying they have to just watch educational only stuff, but it was just I was just pure entertainment fluff video. And I was joking around with them. I'm like, all right, the only time you can no more YouTube. We're going to take a break from YouTube, but the only thing you can watch, unless you're watching YouTube, is my videos. And they always get a chuckle out of it, because obviously some of them do not like math, but it's cool. They can see my videos that basically I was making before they were live. And I think that's so cool. All that stuff that you make. And that's also a reminder for those you guys too, all the videos you have, that stuff lives online, so always be careful on what you're posting and putting on there. But I also think it's a cool legacy to leave behind, and also to show people, as you've grown throughout the years. Solving a question by using the matrix method, but generally by using elementary transformations, or without it, kindly tell me. I mean, you can use both the elementary row operations, or, you can also use matrix, form and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different ways you can solve your systems of equations. Well, thanks, Halal. I really appreciate that. How do you calculate the type of questions that tell you to show that. And then there are fractions which equal to an answer. I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. If you want to maybe rephrase that, I'll be more than happy to take a look. Hey, SA. Hello, mister. Love you videos and made me pass my entrance exam. That's awesome. Congrats. But sadly, I had an Algebra 2 midterm study for 6+ hours and crammed, but I left half of it empty. How can I raise my grades? So I don't think, I mean, congrats to you to putting in the work. 6 hours is a lot of time to study, but I think you would agree if I was going to enter a push-up competition tomorrow and I just started doing as many push-ups as I could in 6 hours, tomorrow I'm not going to do that good, right? And because I'm going to be sore, my muscles are going to be really tired. And let's say right now I can do 15 push-ups on my own with no assistance. Well, if I go ahead and do as many push-ups as I can in the next 6 hours, tomorrow, I don't think I'm going to be able to do any more push-ups than I could do today, right? That's kind of what cramming does, is it puts in a lot of stress and work, but it doesn't overall give you such a big benefit that I think a lot of students do. So, I applaud you for putting in the work, and I know it's very, very tough to put in all that work and to not see the results. But I think what you need to understand is if I was rather going to skip this push-up contest tomorrow, and let's say I was going to do the push-up contest in a month, and then every day until that push-up exam, I tried to do as many push-ups. Let's say I tried to do 15 to 30 push-ups every single day. And then I kept on incrementing it every single week. Then I tried to do 30 to 50. And then the next week I did 50 to 100, whatever may be the case. I guarantee you in a month's time, by incrementally doing that work over and over, I'm going to be able to do a lot more push-ups, right? And that's the same thing with learning. Don't try to put in all that information in one big session. It's just not going to work out the way you want it to. But try to continually break up your studying, be consistent over daily periods, and constantly be learning little chunks. And even if you're like, I don't even have anything to study or I have no homework today, then go back and do some spiral review. But I think the longer you can do consistently and you can be hyper focused in the time that you're studying for small increments, 30 minutes to an hour, I think is going to be much more better for you over the long run than trying to cram in. Now, to also give you something to help raise your grades, obviously you were missing some information. So I don't know what your current situation is of what you need to do in your Algebra 2, midterm, but I think you understand there's a lot of things that up for this year you already missed. So start going back from the beginning of the year and start going back over some of that stuff to start picking it up, right? Because we all know there's going to be a final exam at the end of the year. You are going to be held accountable for knowing that information that you didn't know at the midterm. And that's okay. It's okay. You didn't know it. That's a snapshot in time. You didn't remember it. But now make it your goal that every single day you're always going to be going back, doing some review of the previous stuff that you were supposed to learn, as well as doing some stuff that you are currently going through. And I think if you can just be consistent with that studying time, then you're going to see by the time it gets to the final exam, you're going to be much more prepared and much more confident to do the best you can and to also fill in the full final exam. So best of luck. Those are something I'd have to go back and review. Sorry, I haven't covered those. I haven't covered that content in a very, very long time, and I only covered it as a student, so not something I'll be able to cover on the channel. Sorry, or at least on the live stream. Hello, so I hope this message finds you well, and hope you are well. I just had a question that was in Pascal's triangle in Algebra 2. So go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and I'll go ahead and take a look at it. Yes, that's cool. Thank you. Hey, Vis, I'm a guy from Latvia, and I've never been good at maths. 2 years ago, I gave myself a challenge to learn calculus. During these years studying, I noticed tons of benefits. Thank you for your videos. You are very welcome. And I love that. I think there's an immense benefit of doing some self-study and also just learning calculus in general. And kudos to you for being able to do it. I don't know if I could have learned calculus on my own. I mean, I think having a teacher or having an advisor, somebody that's helping guiding you through is very crucial in the learning process. But if you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to put in the time, I don't think there's anything that stops you from what you can learn. And I think the most beautiful thing about also learning mathematics is, sometimes we put a time frame because that's what the school has. You have to learn at the end of the year or, at the end of the semester. But in reality, you have your whole life to continue learning mathematics. So continue staying curious, continue, having that drive to learn. And and see what's out there. Because I will tell you, the more math you learn, the more everything opens up in the whole world. First, I just want to say thank you. I've helped me since 7th grade. Wow. Through senior year of high school. Thank you so much. That's awesome. That's so cool. You're very welcome. How do you find the interval? Well, what am I finding the interval of? That is going to be, if you're looking at the unit circle, that's going to be from negative pi halves to pi halves, right? So it's basically going to be from the 4th quadrant through the 1st quadrant. I do not think I do. A lot of times when we were doing calculus, we didn't cover, or we didn't go in depth with that. So sorry, I don't have that. If you want to go and submit that over to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, the link is right up there. Then I'll be more than happy to go through that. I'll do some math here once I get through some of these questions, and I'll bring up the whiteboard, and I'll be more than happy to get through some of your guys' questions. Hello, math team fight. I'm a 6th grader, and that is learning 8th and 9th grade. Are there other simple ways to learn math? I'm a 6th grader. That is learning 8th and grade math, I'm assuming. Are there other simpler ways to learn math? Well, I mean, you're advanced from your class, from your peers, right? Currently at the moment. And so I think you just need to take things at your own time. Like if you feel like things are getting overwhelming and it's too difficult for you, then slow down, right? You're already in 6th grade going through 7th and 8th grade mathematics. Like allow your brain to develop the information. Because here's the thing, learning math is not a race. And I want you guys to understand this. I did not take calculus until I was a freshman in college. And a lot of people are like, wow, you weren't smart at math. And yes, I was not smart at math. But even more importantly, and what I've understood from teaching students in mathematics is it wasn't so much that I wasn't smart in math. It was that because I don't believe we have so much of a finite ability in mathematics, but I was not mature. My brain had not matured to truly understand the mathematics. And I think this is something very important because even though we say we're in 9th grade or 10th grade, we sometimes get in the trap of comparing ourselves to our peers. But in reality, we all know people go through puberty at different stages of life, right? And the same thing with your brain. Like your brain we all have different experiences that allow us to digest the information from mathematics. And sometimes we just need more time for our brains to develop and for us to make the connections to understand what we need to understand. So I think it's great that you're advancing because there's some students that, probably even younger than you that understand 7th and 8th grade math, that maybe even understand high level math. You're not in a comparison. So don't get into that trap. But what I do want you to do is continually push yourself, but also realize that it's okay if you need to slow down. Sometimes your brain needs a little bit more time to grow, to mature, to understand things. So keep on pushing yourself, but don't feel inferior that if you need to slow down and you need to take some more time or maybe even retake a class. It's all a part of the learning journey, okay? And just always keep on putting in your best effort, and that's all I could ever ask of my students. Well, submit a question at brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and I'll be happy to do my best. What are your hobbies? Do you play chess? No, I don't really play chess. My daughter was in chess club. And so I kind of got back into it a little bit. And I used to have the app on my phone, but I don't know. I never really got so much into it. I really like doing building stuff and construction. When I was in school, I always worked for a construction company on the weekends and, over the summer and stuff like that. And so I've always had a draw with that. And so I always like doing projects around my house, projects around my rental properties, and just fixing things up. I like woodworking. I like just always keeping my hands dirty. So that's a big passion of mine. Obviously, YouTube is, not so much just teaching math, but I also just love the whole business around YouTube and marketing and videos. And, I have over 12,000 videos. So that's a lot of content to manage and to continually be optimizing and looking at things. And then obviously I have my kids and my family, and that takes up most of my time. The reason why I'm doing a live stream today or at this time is because it was my daughter's birthday on Friday. And today her Mimi is taking her out to go shopping, and everybody decided to join. So I had the house to myself. So now it's a perfect time to do a live stream, right? Last weekend, was last weekend the holiday? Thanksgiving? I can't even remember. I think it was Thanksgiving weekend. Yeah. But either way, we had family stuff going on every single day. There's just always something. And I was like, man, when can I do my live stream? there was no time for me to fit it in. So unfortunately, I just had to skip it. That's the way my life has changed throughout over the years. I actually just made a video on this from in there. So that video will be coming out. But if you have a specific question you want me to, work through, then go and submit it at the link that I have, and I'll be happy to kind of talk a little bit more about it on the live stream. You are very welcome, SA. Explain the lesson. I mean, I could talk about that for an hour. So the more specific you can be, the better. Got a final exam in 2 weeks. I'm kind of weak in the first few chapters. How should I get prepared advanced functions? Well, I want to make some review videos. And actually, you know what? I will send this out for those of you that are on the live stream. And I didn't mention this. If you guys have a midterm review that you would like me to go over or talk about, I'm assuming your teacher has provided you with a review packet or anything like that. Go ahead and submit it to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. Submit it to me, and I'm going to try to do my best to pump out any midterm or review videos that you guys want. So I'll dedicate myself in these next 2 weeks to try to come up with some content, or even going directly off of the content that you've been provided. So if you have any review packet or anything like that you want to submit, go ahead and submit it to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. I'm actually going to make a post on my YouTube channel today about that. So you guys can go and do that as well, and I'll try to do my best. I like that idea. I thought about it. I know we're running out of time, but I'll see if I can get that information for you guys up on my channel, and I'm going to post it on my channel. I'm kind of weak in the first few chapters. How should I prepare advanced functions? So anyway, to go back to your question, I would just go back through, do little bit by little. You got 2 weeks. Every single day be doing some math. Every single day, go back to those previous homework assignments, previous quizzes, previous tests, everything that you did, and go back and start reviewing all the stuff. And then all the stuff that you really didn't understand, even though it's been like maybe a month or 2 months ago, start writing down questions and bring them over to your teacher, bring them over to a tutor lab, whatever may be the case, but make sure you're doing math every single day. I think if you can put in the work for these next 2 weeks, and continually be reviewing and doing practice problems and going over all the stuff that you've previously learned, you're gonna get a better understanding and hopefully be prepared for your exam. We usually didn't get through limits until the end of the year, and so I have some videos on the limits, but I think it's really important to have an understanding with limits in a context of the curriculum and everything else you've gone through with pre-calculus. So obviously limits is, we can give you a quick little description of exactly what they are, as giving you a value that, as a graph is going to be approaching from a certain left to right or general limit. And I have those definitions, I have those videos on there. You can find probably even better videos on YouTube. But unless you are not learning it at this moment, I would just say hold off and just let the course, go through its natural procedure, and then focus on limits when you need to focus on limits. If you have a specific question, go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and that will be probably the best and easiest way for me to address, because I'm going to get through these questions and I'm probably going to forget about the question you submitted, but everything that gets submitted on the Google form, I will go through in order. Yeah, but I think once you have a general understanding and you do some practice, it'll be okay. What is the use of maths? Adding, right? You got to be able to add. So much more, but it's so good. All right, Araf, as a teacher, how would you approach the more quieter kids in your classes? Would you just let them be, or would you ask them if they needed help, or if they had any questions from time to time? Yeah, I think it's really important as a teacher. You have to be able to reach out and be able to have a relationship with each and every kid. Obviously there's always going to be a class where there'll be those outspoken kids, or the ones that are always raising their hand and always asking the questions or always blurting out the answers. And then there's the kids that are just quiet. Maybe they're quiet and they understand everything and they're just not very outspoken. And sometimes they're quiet because they have no idea what's going on and they're completely confused and embarrassed, right? So I think it's really important as a teacher just to have an open dialogue with each and every student. Sometimes you understand it's just their personality, and you're not going to you can only do so much with them. Sometimes they have other outside elements that's impacting their, how they're behaving inside the classroom. But I think just the more you understand each and every child and you have a communication with them where they know that they can always come to speak with you and always come to you to get help, and also know that you care, I think is one of the most important things you can do, from that teacher side of that. So yeah, I think it is important to always keep that dialogue, because when you just avoid a child just because they're quiet or sitting in the back of the classroom, that's one of those opportunities where they might never have that chance to put in the effort and be the best, and get the most out of your class. Well, awesome, Nathan. So happy to help you out. Radians, definitely on Radian team. I used to make a big joke about that, degrees and radians, but yeah, I'm pro radians for sure. I love your videos because they allow me to quickly learn concepts in 3 and 4 minutes rather than 20-minute YouTube videos. Yeah, that's what I always try to do. I mean, I am making some more deeper videos that are a little bit longer, but I always try to keep things short and to the point. So thank you. I appreciate that. It is right up here at this link, brianmclogan.com/Q&A. It's also in the description. So if you go to the description of this video, then you'll be able to see it down there as well. Yes, thank you. Sir, why the fx equals tan x curve is so complicated? I can't get all those complicated lines. I actually just made a video on this. And that kind of makes sense of your restriction from negative pi halves to pi halves, or negative 180 degrees to 180 degrees. That makes sense because that is the restriction that we put on the tangent function, or the, taking the inverse of that. So that makes a little bit more sense now why you originally asked that question. But I think the important thing is just look at the unit circle. Look at the points on the unit circle, right? Tangent of x is y over, y, or tangent of theta is going to be y over x. So take those points from the unit circle, do that ratio, y over x, and that's how you're going to get to the points that make up the curve of the tangent function. So I do have a video on that, but if you want me to explain a little bit more, then go ahead and submit it to the link, and I'll be happy to talk about it more. How do I get him to read my chat? You just post it on the chat, and then I'll read it. I got a calc exam tomorrow, first year in university. Well, best of luck. That's so good. Oh yeah, a lot of colleges. So I guess I need my help that I wouldn't be able to help too many of you guys that have your exams, or, for university, because you guys aren't going to be in school or classes for much longer. So I apologize for that. I probably should have made this post earlier, but sorry, it is what it is. But best of luck. There's not much more you can do at this moment. So get some good sleep. Make sure you, slow down, take some deep breaths, and just do the best you can do, right? It's only a test. It's only a midterm, an exam. You can always overcome things. Hey, thank you so much. Sorry, I request you to make complete courses of group theory, topologies, mechanics, differential geometry, and all the subjects of mathematics. Complete courses, please. I agree. That is something I am working on. Not so much on those topics yet, but I am working on complete courses and putting them up on my YouTube channel for sure. I have a logarithm and exponential test tomorrow. I still need to review all the lessons. I am so... If you go ahead and... All right, Investor of Tech, make sure if you go ahead and submit to Brian McLogan, or go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, submit your question, make sure you shoot me your email address from Investor of Tech, and make sure you say, this is Investor in Tech. I literally just made a review of trigonometric functions, or exponential and logarithmic functions, that I'll be more than happy to send over to you. They're not going to be released for a couple of months now. But if you want me to send those over to you to do a good review, that's exactly why I made the videos, as a quick review. If you want me to go and send that over to you, then shoot me, go to that link and provide your email address, and I'll be happy to send over to you. Awesome. I love it. Is long division with 4-digit divide by 2-digit beyond bore? Many people just make a lot of mistakes even when there's advanced in algebra. Yeah, it's just that processing, right? So a lot of times when you have those processes over and over, you're going to make mistakes. So, just slow down, take it step by step. And I also think doing some practice, when you do multiple problems like that, even though it can be boring and redundant, you're going to get more confidence and you're going to get better at catching your mistakes. So, but yeah, I wouldn't say it's like the most fun math problem to be doing for sure. But not everything in life is fun. Okay. I think we can disagree with that. Do you think the best way to learn anything and not only be proficient, but perfect at something is to go beyond what your teacher has explained to you? I mean, it depends. Obviously, I don't know, your teacher, you got to think the teacher's goal is to teach every single person in that classroom, right? They have to differentiate their instruction. They have students that are at the top, and you have students down at the bottom, students that already know what they need to know as they walk into class, and that students that are following behind, right? So it's a difficult job as a teacher to be able to provide an instruction that's going to satisfy and meet the needs of every single student. So I don't know where you are at, so I can't give a blanket statement, but I will say that more often than not, at least I can, from my experience as a teacher, I am providing a foundational understanding to my students. And I always tell them, if you want to ace your test, and actually I have a video on this, but if you want to ace your test, go beyond what I am teaching. Don't just rely on the homework and the examples that I provided inside of class. Go beyond it. There's problems that are, I usually had like challenge problems that were not required. And I'd add them to their homework that they could do. There's problems that are in the back of the book that was not required, but it was always an opportunity for students to challenge themselves. And again, not every student needs that for that challenge. Some students are just, grasping for air, trying to stay in the course. But I do believe that a lot of our education, at least in the public educational system in America, is designed to teach as a broad baseline, but not to broad baseline for them to get the most understanding out of the most amount of students, but it's not necessarily to push every single student to their maximum potential. So I think for those of you that want to reach that maximum potential, you do a lot more often than not have to go beyond what your teacher is providing. They're providing that foundation for the most amount of students, but that doesn't mean that that's where you need to stop. Or that doesn't mean that's what is needed for you to get the most out of the course or to do the best on the upcoming assessments. I always believe in going above and beyond is going to give you that the best opportunity for success. So yes, I would agree. More often than not, go above what your teacher is doing. I mean, possibly go and submit it. I don't usually do a lot of word problems, but I am thinking about making a course on word problems. And so I'm kind of excited about that. I'm going to think about making it and map it out. And then that'll be something I'll have come out. So, but yeah, word problems, they just can be, they're difficult to go on live stream. So I'm not sure I'll be able to go through it, but feel free to submit it. It might be something I might have to make into a video. I have a lot of videos on composite functions, but if you have a specific question, submit it at bradmclogan.com/Q&A, and I'll go there. Yes, I like that. Well, it's for differentiability. Why can't I speak? It's got to be what? It can't have a point or a jagged curve. It has to be continuous. And I feel like there's one more I can't think of. And mod x is not going to be a continuous function. So therefore, that's why we won't be able to differentiate. There's one more though. There's a point. It's got to be continuous. Can't have any breaks or points or sharp turns, sharp edges. I feel like there's one more. I just can't think of it. So, but yeah, mod x is not going to be a continuous function. So that's why we won't be able to find the derivative. Mark, what is your favorite part of math that you like to teach? I would probably say, even when I was in high school, my favorite, and I mentioned it before, is going to be analytic trigonometry. Trigonometric identities, solving and verifying. I always just really liked that. I liked how that came together with the algebra and how it was also like little puzzles. So verifying trigonometric identities, I'd probably say, is my favorite that I found through being as a student as well as a teacher. I showed the question on the provided link. When will you get to an answer? I'm studying for my math exam tomorrow, so please email it to me. Thanks. Well, no, I'm going to go through it on the live stream. So So you can always check back on this live stream. I'm not taking down the live stream, but hopefully it's something I can address on the live stream. I can't guarantee every single question that gets submitted, guys, that I'm able to answer, but I will try to do my best. But yeah, I would just check back on this live stream. I'll probably get to those questions here in the next 10 minutes and then try to wrap up the stream. Any recommendations for how to understand trig functions? I'm super confused on my analyzing trig identities. I would just need a little bit more information from you. So if you want to submit a question or be a little bit more specific, on the submit the link at brianmclogan.com/Q&A, I could probably answer your question a little bit better. I'm still a little bit confused on your understanding of trig functions, but one thing that made sense to me for when understanding like what does sine, cosine, and tangent mean, it's just a ratio. Like when you think about the sine of an angle and you have opposite over hypotenuse, that's just a ratio. It's a comparison, right? How big is the opposite side compared to the hypotenuse? We know the hypotenuse is always going to be the largest side of a right triangle. So that decimal that we're getting is just a comparison of how big one side is compared to that hypotenuse, right? Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. And then once we get into the trig functions with the unit circle, we still have that, the relationship has not changed. It's just we're able to simplify things to make the math be done a little bit easier. I did, but not since university, so it's been a long time. Please submit the question and on my link, and I'll be more than happy to see if I can go through it. Hey, Cyberdown. I've been subscribed to you for more than a year, and thanks for always helping me with specific questions and doubts. Your videos definitely help. Well, you're very welcome. I'm so happy to be able to help you out, and thank you for subscribing. How should our approach be for being good at complex numbers? I think just like with anything else, make sure you put in the practice. I mean, obviously, you got to have a decent understanding with the complex numbers, or have an understanding of what they are and what to use, and then just put in the work to get the algebraic understanding and like application with them. But I think just comes down with some practice. I don't think it's anything different than any other topic in mathematics. Well, I'm not sure where you're referring to of asymptotes, but just remember asymptotes are not defined parts of the graph, and they're also where the function is always going to be approaching. So when you have an asymptote on a graph or in a function, know that that graph is always going to be approaching that asymptote, and it's also never going to be defined. It's never going to be an x-intercept, right? It's not going to be a y-intercept, and it's not going to be part of the domain or the range. So just make sure you understand that those are not defined values. Yes, but what do you want to do with that linear relationship? Submit it at the upper link, and I'll be more than happy to kind of go through a little more depth if you need. I don't know what to actually become, and I don't have any specific dream job. You got some advice for me? Yes. Learn as many possible jobs and tech and like experiences as you possibly can. I knew I wanted to become a math teacher when I was in high school. However, I had no idea that I would want to study real estate or study marketing, which I do on like my YouTube channel. Like those are things that were completely out of my orbit of understanding what I wanted to do. Okay. So I think it's just really important to learn, take on as many experiences as you possibly can, absorb and learn as many things that you can from those different jobs. Because if you end up working for a different employer, if you end up opening up your own business, the more experiences, the more value, and the more things that you learn, the more valuable you are. So therefore, you're less likely to, get fired. You're more likely to get promoted, and you're more likely to have success in the business world because you have all those different experiences that you bring to the table. So I am not a big fan of hyper focusing and just saying, this is the one job I want to do, and this is the only thing I'm going to learn and focus on. Obviously, there are people that they are designed for, because you can see they are like the best of what they are, and like their whole world is like focused on that one thing. But I think for a majority of people, that's just not reality. And I think the more variety that you can get in life, the more successful that you can see from that, or the more success you can see from all those experiences that you bring to the table. or that you gained? It is a trombone. Yes, it is. I played in the trombone from 6th through 12th grade. So, hello, any tips for trigonometry for engineering? Going back to my board soon. No, I mean, I just go back through and review all the engineering that you had. I mean, all the trigonometry that you did, just constantly be reviewing, maybe even create a cheat sheet so you can take all the formulas and theorems and stuff that you learned, and put them on a sheet of paper. So, it's probably been a while for you. So as long as you have everything kind of condensed on a single sheet of paper, it'd be a good thing to kind of quickly review back, especially as you start getting into the math. I do not have any specific advice for engineering. I never had to take it, but I would just, if there's one piece of advice I would give is, find a study partner, find a study group that you can do your work with them. Don't feel like you have to go at math alone. And I think that's one of the best pieces of advice I can give to people that are, challenging themselves or going into something that's, specified. Find that group, enjoy doing homework with people. That just makes it more interesting than doing it all by yourself. I have an algebra test tomorrow and I can't fail. It's on standard form and point slope form, etc. Well, if you have some specific questions or you have a review, then feel free to submit it at brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and I'll try to do my best. And then also, for those of you guys that have a midterm, I mentioned this earlier, if you have like a midterm review or you have like a packet of questions that you want me to make a video on that provides you with, then go ahead and submit it at brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and I will try to do my best to get as many of those videos out within the next week. I have a goal to make some of those videos for, finals and midterms. And so I just want to let you guys know that I'm more than happy to kind of take a look at what you guys have and see if I can make a video for you. Thanks, Rezan. I appreciate that. What is math? I am Chinese. Chinese. Well, good to have you on. Elon, I am a Chinese. I don't even know where to go with that. Yes, I have videos a lot of months out before. Is college prep algebra 1 different from normal algebra 1? Because I see some topics in my math book, and I don't know if it's algebra 1 like exponential functions, transformations. Are they algebra 2? Yeah, I'd say college algebra is probably more algebra 2 stuff, but it doesn't, where algebra 2 has, I would say, more of a variety of topics. College algebra mainly just focuses in purely on the algebra stuff. It doesn't really vary off. Whereas what I've noticed with the algebra 2 curriculum is kind of absorbed a lot of stuff in our school systems, like with statistics and probability and trigonometry, and like it's added in a lot of content ideas, where college algebra really just focuses in on that algebra. But I'd say it's much more hyper focused with the algebra from algebra 2 rather than algebra 1 stuff. But obviously it's all related, and you're going to want to make sure you know the algebra 1 stuff for the algebra 2 stuff, which you'll see in college algebra. You're very welcome, Bucks. What is a linear and a nonlinear equation? I have an exam tomorrow. So if it's going to be a linear equation, then obviously you're going to have only one variable from in there, and it's going to be written to the power of 1. So if it's not written to the power of 1 and you don't have more than one of them, then that'd be your linear equation. If you have some specific examples, then submit it to the link, and I'll be more than happy to kind of like further explain on my whiteboard. I don't know. Maybe if you shoot that over to me, I'll maybe be able to take a look. There's a lot of different ways to do it. It all depends on the type of question. What are your thoughts on mathematics education, i.e. artificial intelligence and so forth? I think it's going to make some big changes, and I think I'm really excited to see what it's going to do. I think I'm not as much worried. I mean, I think the fundamentals of education, I think the fundamentals of learning is never really going to change, but I think there's a lot of added benefits with artificial intelligence, and I look forward to seeing what the future holds. I'm working on it. I am working on it. Thank you. A cosp, yep, can have a cosp, a corner, a vertical tangent, or discontinuity. So yes, thank you very much. I was trying to go back and remember. I'm like, man, I know there's these points on there. All right, I'll get to those questions here very, very soon. I would say it's relatively moderate. I think you need to have a fundamental understanding of logarithms. But once you kind of have that fundamental understanding, and again, the easiest way for understanding logarithms would be understanding them in their exponential form, especially when you're first beginning. But I think once you have that, a lot of following the rules or kind of what you're looking for, domain restrictions and graphing, it's all the same from all the other functions from on there. So I think just comes in getting some practice and getting some familiarity with logarithms. That is correct. I Bruce for Calc 1, but I have my Calc 2 file tomorrow, and I couldn't be more afraid. Yeah, it's a and I think I think a lot of it is just how we approach teaching Calc 1 with compared to Calc 2. Calc 1, we really want to make sure you have those foundational stuffs, and obviously every course is going to be different. Every professor is going to be different. But I would probably say the difference would be a lot from what I've seen or what I've experienced is the pacing. I feel like Calc 1, a lot of times we go at a slower pace because we want to make sure students are really absorbing that understanding. And then Calc 2, it's kind of like under the assumption that, hey, you have a solid foundation of this Calc 1 material. Now we need to start applying things, right? Now we need to start using this. And the speed picks up. And so I think for some students that maybe don't have that foundational stuff or aren't used to the speed at which it, being applied is a little bit of a learning curve. Awesome. I love it. Is it a final review or a midterm review? What's the best way to learn math? What's the best way to learn math and have a great foundation for more difficult math topics? I think just continually doing spiral review, doing math every single day, right? And if you don't have like current homework or something else to do, like go back to some previous stuff that you always learned. But if you are being consistent with your math learning, I think that's the best thing to not only build up your great foundation, but to also allow you opportunity to continue challenging yourself. So do math every day. Do you have any tips on how to remember material easier? I get into a groove and can solve all the problems perfectly. Then the next day I forget everything. So it's hard to remember. Yeah, I would. Two things. I think the more practice you're going to be doing, if you're doing it consistently, rather than trying to memorize it, like let's say 4 hours in one day, and then don't do anything the next day, I don't want you doing that. I want you to be doing math every single day. And I think the more that you practice those theorems, those problems, the easier it becomes to remember them. If you're doing something, I mentioned this earlier, but like if I had a push-up competition tomorrow and I did push-ups for 6 hours today, I wouldn't be able to do any more push-ups tomorrow, right? Even though I spent 6 hours doing push-ups, I would be completely burnt out, right? My muscles would be fried. Exact same thing. If you're trying to memorize everything in just one day, yeah, you might be able to do maybe 1 or 2 push-ups more, like you might memorize a little bit more of the content. But in the reality, it happens if you do push-ups every day for like 2 weeks and then the competition, I'm going to be able to do a lot more push-ups than I would, if I just did a 6-hour cram session. So I think when you are thinking about memorizing things, the more that you can make it a part of your daily routine and consistently be working on them, the better, the more ingrained it's going to be in your memory. And also I think of having like writing down all of them on a cheat sheet, doing that to constantly review them can be beneficial as well. I had a math exam today and I'm doomed. Please give me a piece of advice to improve. Well, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I think the most important thing that you need to focus on right now is why were you doomed? What is it you don't understand? And I'll tell you this, there's nothing more that you do not want to do when you fail or don't do well is to face the reality, right? Typically when you fail something or you don't do good, you want to like crumple it up and throw it away and just be like, you know what? That sucks. I hate math. I hate my teacher. I hate this course. I'm going to maybe change. I don't want to face my failures. But that is the exact opposite thing that you need to do. You need to get mad at yourself. You need to get mad at the way that you performed on that test. And you need to look that test in your face and realize, I am never going to do this again. I am going to understand every single thing that I got wrong or where I made my mistakes. And I am going to show my teacher, my professor, that I can learn this stuff. It's not fun. It takes some humility. You have to be able to understand that your failures are a part of your success. So when you get that, final exam back, then do a diagnostics, look at it and look at everything that you got wrong and all the mistakes that were made, and make it your priority to fix, to amend everything that you didn't understand and to put in the work. And I guarantee you, if you can have that humility to do that and to make a promise to yourself that you're never going to do this again and you're going to put in the work to understand the material, nothing's going to get in your way. I am 40 years old. Thank you. So you said you agree with going above and beyond with topics if you understand it fully. So for me, I have studied radicals before, just reviewing it again as it is the first chapter in the book. Yes, that is good. I would go through. Should I learn and review each chapter as soon as I understand it, immediately go to harder problems, or complete the entire unit first, then go above and beyond with each of them? For example, should I learn about adding radicals first, and then as soon as I am proficient, go beyond, or learn all about radicals, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, and then challenge myself with each operation unit? I don't know if there is a better way to approach it. I would do some challenge videos at every single step. I think when you're first learning something, go as, challenge yourself in that point and then move on to the next topic, and like sometimes the challenge is going to make sense when you have a better, more complete understanding of the whole unit. Right. But I think there's definitely some things you can challenge yourself in each and every, section. And then challenge yourself at the end as well, or go back to the problems that you still didn't understand when you're challenging yourself. So I don't think there is a correct answer. I just, I think whatever works best for your kind of schedule and your kind of pace, and works for you. I think either way would be fine. Yes, that is correct. Why do you assign the power of -1 in some certain questions? Well, that's going to be representing the inverse, but that and arc sine are going to be, equivalent from there. I've waited 10 minutes for you and you didn't even read my question. Well, I don't even know what your question was. Let's see. Let's see if I can even scroll back. How do you find the missing? Oh, I didn't even say this. Well, again, these questions, I'm not going to be able to get to this. If you want to submit your question at brianmclogan.com/Q&A, the link is right here. That is where I'm going to address all the math questions. Okay. So I'm trying to get through my chat and then I'll get to the math questions for you. All right. But I got to move on because I do got to get to the math. Send it onto the link in the bio. Should I learn from my algebra textbook on my own and or self-pass lace? Okay, should I learn from my algebra textbook on my own and self-learn fast and go ahead of my peers because I'm going ahead of my textbook and learning because my goal is to self-learn? Whatever self-learning you're doing that works for you, do it. I don't have any advice for you. I've never had to self-learn a concept. I think when you are learning, you just got to realize what works for you, right? That your own learning style and lean into it and keep on going. What is your opinion on multivariable calculus? I mean, it is fun when you get to the correct answer, but if you don't, it's just frustrating. Yeah. I just talking about calculus in general, I really didn't like it. I mean, I liked a lot of like the foundational understanding stuff, but like some of the math problems, especially once we got into, in Calc 2, I remember I was like, just the whole, like doing the whole math and everything. I was like, this isn't what I enjoy, a lot, with the math. Cause yeah, like you get the problem wrong and it's like, oh, this is frustrating, from on there. So I liked learning the content of calculus, but I didn't like a lot of the work or the math that I was doing, so much of the calculus. Like when I'm just doing over and over math problems, like with numbers, it just got boring for me, So I really, really love math, how it connects, especially with calculus. But the dirty stuff, the dirty work of doing the calculus just didn't really enjoy for me. Awesome, Jonathan. So happy to help. Out of all the math classes you've ever taught, which did you enjoy teaching most? Out of all the math classes you've took, which did you favorite to learn? I would probably say linear algebra was not linear algebra, sorry, graph theory was my favorite to take. I loved that class. Absolutely loved it. I was so interested and engaged in that course. Loved that as taking it. As far as teaching, I still love pre-calculus. That was my favorite to teach. From on there. So every single time when I knew I performed, when my students would come to calculus and they were like, man, Mr. McLogan, calculus is so much easier than your pre-calculus class, I knew I did well. I knew that I did my job because I prepared them for that course. And so that was always a good feeling for me. So that's why I really like pre-calculus. Did you always want to be a math teacher, or was it something you got into later? No, I remember writing junior year, I believe in high school, is when I decided I wanted to become a math teacher, and ended up going to college for that and got my degree, and the rest is history. So yeah, 14 years inside the classroom. I don't know why you got skipped again. What are you talking about skipped in? Oh, I talked about multiple variable calculus. All right, I got to get through. Well, you're very welcome, Mr. Aviation. I would probably say rational functions. A lot of students have really, really big difficulty in Algebra 2. I'd have to think about it. It's been a while since I taught Algebra 2 as well. I have to think a little bit more, but I'd say that's definitely one of the, that's ranks up there high. Would you go from Algebra 2, trig, pre-calculus over the summer, and then to Calculate AB? I mean, I guess everybody's going to be a little bit different. You know, they really are. Some people can handle that. Some people, I would definitely not recommend it. So I think the best thing for you is to have the conversation with your teacher, your professors, you know, and your guidance counselors to make the best decision for you. That's not something that I can give advice on. You say many times before exams. Thank you. Well, you are very welcome. If anything, before I get to the math questions that you guys have submitted, if you guys do have any midterm exam reviews that your teacher has provided you or that you are working on and you have a midterm exam coming up, then feel free to go ahead and submit it at the link at brianmclogan.com/Q&A. And I have some goals and some plans to put some reviews together for you guys. I'm making some videos and some exclamations on that stuff. So go ahead and submit them to there. I am going to still be looking at the chat, but I will take a break from your guys' questions and I'm going to get right into the questions that you guys have submitted on the math questions. All right, I'm not sure. Kenley, I'm not sure if this was on you. No, I think this was point P as coordinates. I'm not sure what that question is. Here, I'll put this over here. All right. Let's get to your guys' questions now. Where is my link? Oh, come on. There I am. I know. Well, the thing is, I was wondering about this, and so one thing I am going to be doing, the reason why I had some of my other channels is because I do want to cover some other questions. And actually, to your point, I like doing these live streams on my main channel, but I don't really like doing as much of the math, questions on there. So, and the reason being is just because I've already been talking for an hour. So now my brain is already kind of fried, and now you guys are going to make me do, math questions. You're not making me, but I am making myself do math questions, from on there. So it is, it gets time consuming, but I do have some other channels that I wanted to go live so I could start doing some more math questions on those, questions that people submit and stuff like that. But yeah, it's always difficult in that regard. Do I have a playlist on trig? Are you kidding me? I have a ton of videos on trig. But yeah, if you go to my main channel, go to my main channel, and then go to playlists, you'll see a lot of videos on trig. And actually, just because I have my YouTube open, I'll see if I can even find it for you. Let's see if I can go to my channel. But I'll get into your guys' questions. Let me go and open that over so you guys can see. Oh, no, back to live mode. I don't know what preview mode is. There we go. There you go. So for trig, I do have a lot, but here. Hope that helps. Check that out. I don't know why it has that. It's kind of weird. There you go. No, come on. Huh. Yeah, but if you go to pre-calculus trigonometry, you'll see all those videos. All right. So go and submit your questions up above. You guys can see, and I will try to do my best to get to you guys. So let's take a look at what we got. Random person. Air off, thank you. All right, to find all the solutions, make sure you write your answers. Araf, I see your question. I don't know if you meant to be random or whatever else, but your name showed up on the thing. So we have 2 cosine squared of x plus cosine of x minus 1 equals 0. Gotta be able to see. Stop. No. There you go. Okay. All right, cool. So on this one, I'm going to try to get through these questions, guys, a little bit as quick as I possibly can, because obviously I have to go to the store as well. My wife does not know I'm doing this live stream. So the main important thing is I think we want to factor this. If we want to solve this, you can see it's kind of in this quadratic term. So immediately what I like to do is just kind of think about this in terms of quadratic form. So yeah, Arrow got caught. So if I had 2x squared plus x minus 1 is equal to 0, right? Forget about the cosines for a second. If I wanted to factor this, I know I can broken down into a product of 2 binomials. And I say, all right, well, what do I need to factor this by? I know we're going to have a 2x, and I know I'm going to have an x. And then if I want to get that middle term to be an x, then what 2 numbers are going to multiply and give me -1? That's, well, one of them has to be positive, one of them is going to be negative. But if my middle term is going to be positive, then I want this to be a positive and this to be a negative. So again, do the multiplication on your head. You can see that works. And then you can go ahead and solve, right? So back over to here, we're going to be basically doing this exact same thing. Just instead of you can say, or let x equal, cosine of x, right? It's really the exact same thing that we're doing in this case. And so now once you kind of let x equal your cosine of x, oh, well, thank you, Allie. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Character laughing on the floor. I don't really see it though. Maybe why am I not seeing the thing? I love that sticker though. Thank you. It's so cool. But yeah, I don't want to do a full substitution explanation or video on this, but I just want you to think of that relationship, because now what I can do is I can rewrite this in factored form of 2 cosine of x minus 1 times a cosine of x plus 1 equals 0, right? And now you have a product equal to 0. So now I can use the zero product property. So you can say 2 cosine of x minus 1 equals 0 and cosine of x plus 1 equals 0. So now I use your inverse operations, add 1, divide by 2. So you can say cosine of x equals a positive 1/2. And over here, cosine of x equals a -1. And you said to find all the solutions, right? So to find all the solutions, what we need to do is look at our unit circle, and when is cosine of x going to equal a positive 1/2? Well, that's going to be in the first and the fourth quadrant, and that's going to be this angle right here, which is 1/2 comma square root of 3 over 2, and then this point right here, which is going to be a positive 1/2 negative square root of 3 over 2. So what are those two angles? Get it like that. So if I was just going to do between 0 and 2 pi, that looks horrible. I don't know why my pen is not. If I was going to do 0 and 2 pi, here would be the solutions. This angle is pi over 3. Pi over 3, 2 pi over 3, 3 pi over 3, 4 pi. This angle is going to be a 5 pi over 3. So we have that solution. We have that solution. So that's 5 pi over 3. And then when x cosine is equal to -1, well, that's going to be this solution over here, right? Because that's going to be a -1, 0. So therefore, that's going to be a pi. Now, the one thing I want you to recognize here is, look at these three solutions. I have this one, that angle, and that angle. Do you see how these are all equidistant apart, right? So these are all of my solutions between 0 and 2 pi. However, if I wanted to write all the solutions, all I could simply do is say x equals a pi over 3. And then how far do I need to go to get over to this one? Well, that's going to be a what? 2 pi over 3. So plus a 2 pi over 3 n, because I can add it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, or I could go in the -1, -2, -3, -4. So that's why n represents any integer. So hopefully, Arif, that is helpful and good for you. I like that question though. So I'm actually going to, I forgot to take a picture of it. I like when you guys take pictures of it. So I'm going to submit it up from there. Yeah, that's why that question says write it in simplest form, because that's going to be the simplest form you're going to want to write in. You could write each and every one of those solutions and then do plus the 2 pi n. But since they have that equidistance apart, this is the answer we'd want to write them in. All right. Next question. Yes, I mean, you can, it depends on where n is being written as any integer from there. So, you know, you can, it depends on the question, whereas you represent, but yes, n is defined as any integer. When I was in my class, we always allowed n to be defined. So we didn't define it every single answer or every single problem. That's what we had as our understanding. But yeah, depending on what your teacher asks. All right. I have no clue where to start. Cool. Well, your question is sideways. So sorry, Damon, I'm going to have to review back over there and then I can get to that one. But their live stream, it's too much for this. Tim, got a final exam 2 weeks. I'm kind of weak in the first few chapters. How should I get prepared? Advanced functions. Oh, I already answered that question. So you're good. Show that 3/4 plus 5/6 equals 9/12. Okay. All right. So, I mean, I think the main important idea that we need to understand when we have fractions, we need to have common denominators to be able to add or subtract them. So we have 3/4 plus a 5/6 equals a 19/12. Or let's just say we don't know what it equals. Okay. So if we have that common denominator, we could say the least common denominator is equal to 12. So what do I need to get get these to be 12? I would need to multiply this by 3 over 3. And as long as you're multiplying fraction the same number in the top and bottom, you're not changing the value of that fraction. Over here, I need to multiply by 2 over 2. So now that's going to produce a 9/12 plus a 10/12. And then when you add fractions, now that you have the common denominators being the same, you can just apply the operation to your numerator. 9 plus 10 is going to be a 19/12. So hopefully that was helpful. And again, the least common denominator is going to be the smallest number that both of your denominators evenly divide into. That's why I came up with the number 12. Also, it was kind of helpful that your answer was already shown. So therefore, it's easy to show, oh, that's going to be the denominator I need to achieve. Any questions, guys? Feel free to add them in to the link above my head, And I'll try to get to your questions as much as I can. I don't know how much I can get into on today, though. Oh, shoot. No, I almost ended the live stream. Don't want to do that. Lightning. Okay, we already answered that question. Confused on how to find the both prices in this word problem. I'll save that word problem for probably a video. Sorry about that. Find this using my teacher split the equation into two, get two different answers. I don't understand. Well, tangent squared, what? Is it minus cotangent? So you're missing something here, Tyler, or Percy, sorry. I'm not sure. I'm just going to add in something, and you can see from on there. Yeah, I don't have a problem with your teacher having to define. I mean, again, in this circumstance where I was inserting this variable, it would make sense to say like where n is going to be defined. I guess I was going back through my teaching where I would have, we're using n as to define any variable, and then we do multiple examples, from that point. So yeah, I have no problem. I'm not disagreeing with your teacher at anything. All right, so find the solution 0 to 2 pi. So this one's tangent squared of x, cotangent squared. I don't know. I'm just going to do add from in there. So your teacher is doing something. So we have a tangent squared of x. Or no, it's a multiplication. So tangent squared of x, cotangent squared of x, minus a 3 tangent of x equals 0. Okay, so kind of like what I did with the previous example. Sometimes I think it's helpful just to think in terms in algebraic things. So forget about tangent and cotangent. Let's just do x's. Let's let tangent, let's say let x equal a tangent of x, and let's say let y equal a cotangent of x. Okay, let's do it that way. So in this case, I would have a x squared y squared minus a 3x. So if you wanted to just factor this, right? Forget about solving and whatever else. If I just wanted to factor this, what would you do? Well, you'd say, oh, they both share an x, so I can factor out an x, right? So therefore, I could factor out the x, and that would leave me with a x times a y squared minus 1. Right? That would be your factor form. You can see that's what they're going to share. And that's what you could solve in that case. So when I'm looking at this, I say, oh, well, these both share a tangent, right? Because a tangent squared is really just tangent times tangent. So in this case, I can factor this out. I can factor out a tangent of x, and that's going to leave me with a tangent times tangent of x, tangent of x times a cotangent of x minus a 3. I made that mistake, right? Minus a 3. And that's going to equal a 0. So now you do have the product. You could definitely use the 0 product probably. Yeah, no, I fixed it. Thank you, Tim World. I caught my mistake. So you have tangent of x equals 0, and then tangent of x cotangent of x minus 3. I don't know what I'd want to do from that one. So I'd have to actually go and take a look at this. Tangent of x equals 0. And then this one, you'd have the tangent of x times cotangent of x minus 1 equals 3. Oh, that is a cotangent squared. Thank you. Oh, and then if you, let's see this, if you were to rewrite these in our trigonometric form, right? So you'd have a sine. Tangent is sine of x over cosine of x. And cotangent is cosine squared of x times a sine of x. Wait, but isn't tangent squared times cotangent squared equal to 1? Yes, but you have them squared, right? So therefore, that's just going to equal. There you go. So therefore, those are going to divide out. So you're just going to be left with 1 cotangent. I guess you didn't really need to break that up in sines over cosine. So that'd just be left. Why am I doing cosine? That'd just be a cotangent of x is equal to a 3, which I believe is not going to be a solution from on there if I take, because that's going to be outside of our restriction from on there. So therefore, the only solution that we are going to worry about is, because that's going to be outside of the inverse, right? Yeah, because it's between 1 and -1. So therefore, the only thing we need to worry about here is when is tangent equal to 0. So again, go into your unit circle. When is y over x going to equal to 0? Well, here, this point is 1, 0. So that would be y over x, that'd be 0. And then this point, which is -1, 0. So 0 over -1. So 0 over 1, 0 over -1. So that would be x. I'm sorry. So our solution set would be a 0 and pi. I believe. I'll have to go very and double check that. Probably should have, but maybe if I make a video on it, I'll go and take a look. Tim. Here's my review package. Awesome, Tim. I'll get to that later. Why do you guys keep on sending me questions? I got to get off this live stream. I don't understand how to rearrange the equation to get the answer. All right. Yeah, to ARS point, I should have done like a 4-hour live stream. Number of blue pens. So what's your question? I don't understand how to rearrange the equation in order to get the answer. I don't know what the question is asking though for, so sorry, I'm gonna have to move that on. I'm not gonna do calculus. It's been too long, unfortunately. I'm struggling to know how exactly I draw quadratic graphs. So it might be different, but also I don't know when the x-axis changes in the function and y. I don't know what your question is, though. I'm struggling to know how to exactly draw quadratic graphs. So it might be different, but I also don't know when the x-axis changes in the function and the y. I'm going to answer, I'm not sure if this is going to give you the best answer to what you're looking for, but I'm just going to answer it the way that I think I have to. Well, tangent. So I think on this question, if I was to go ahead and graph this, okay, and let's say I needed to graph this function, and we're going to stick in standard form, fx equals x squared plus 3x minus 4. Obviously, this is our parent graph. We love that. But these two problems, I do like the exact same. I'll just work with this one from here. So I think the most important thing is to find the axis of symmetry, or at least find the x value, right? So the axis of symmetry, x is going to equal opposite of b divided by 2 times a. So that's going to be equal a -3 divided by a 2 times 1, which equals to a -1/2. Or you could say like a -1.5, right? Okay. So what I think is important from on there is when you are creating your table of values, that is where your graph is going to be symmetric about. Right? You can see everything to the left and to the right is going to be there. So when I'm creating my table of values, my XY table of values, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick points. Let's say negative 1.5 is right here. I'm going to pick points that are less than that, like negative 2, negative 3. And symmetrically, apart from those, would be ones that are going to be just a 1/2 over to the other side. So therefore, you can see they're going to be the exact same because you only really want to find it one time, right? So therefore, for instance, I would do like -1 and I'd do 0. So the cool thing about these is now if I plug in 0, this is really easy. That's -4. Well, guess what that's the same as? That's the same as -3, right? -1.5, if you plug that in, or -3/2, we can go and figure out what that is, which is be the vertex. But the important thing I want you to see is like, here's your vertex, right? So as long as these 2 points are the same distance away from your vertex, their y value is going to be the same. So that's -4. If I plug in -1, -1 squared is going to be a +1. That'd be a -3. -3 minus 4 is a -7, +1. So that's going to be a -6. No. Yes, -6. And guess what? That's going to be a -6. Voila, right? And now let's go ahead and actually figure out what our vertex would be. So if I did f of -3/2, I'll look at your question or thing in a second, Arif. X equals strands because you can't do cotangent and 0 cotangent. Yeah, but we're not doing cotangent. We're doing tangent. I'm not doing cotangent for those extremes. I'm doing the solutions for tangent of x equals 0. So x equals 0 and x equals pi satisfies this equation, not the cotangent one. This is all extraneous solutions. Or there would be no solutions. I don't think they're not going to say they're extraneous. They're just not going to be a solution for those. And so if I plug that in, let's see, that's going to be a 9/4 plus a 3/2 times, so that'd be a -9/2 minus a 4. Whew. And then we can rewrite that over 1, multiply everything by 2/2 here, 4/4 by here. So therefore, that's going to be a 9/4 minus an 18/4 minus a 16/4. I don't think that's right. Or -27, right? So -9, so that'd be a -25/4. Yes, but aren't you supposed to plug into the original equation? Yes, when you have your solution back into there. Oh, I see what you're saying. Going back in from there. I'll have to go back. I'll have to pull back in from there. Yeah, but I see your point. You're not going to be able to. The solutions aren't going to satisfy those for cotangent of 0 because that would be undefined. I'll have to take a look at it. Sorry, I got to get off this live stream. I got to make my brain think. -25/4, and that would be 5 1/4, which looks like that's about there, right? 5 and like 1/4, or -5 1/4, -5 and 1/4, or no, maybe 6 and 1/4. Sorry, yeah, -6 and 1/4. See, my brain's fried. All right, let's see if there's anything else I got to go through, and then I'll get you guys. I like that question though. You guys keep on asking me, answering me questions. I got to take this off. All right, we talked about that. I don't have time to get through all these. I'm going to get through one more, Antonio. Yeah, no, Arof, you're perfectly fine. I'm just, I got so many things I'm thinking about going back through on there. I'm trying to go back because if you have your angle of 0, cosine of 0 would be undefined. Find the solutions on 0 to 2 pi. Split your teeter into two different equations. And then tangent times there. I'll need to clarify, and I'll make sure I go back in through there. But yeah, I just need to follow up on my work. All right, guys. I am sorry. I need to come up with another way for you guys to be able to get all these questions because there's no way I can get all these questions answered on today. But I will. Yeah, I think most of the people that submitted on from there, I got to the majority of you from on that point. So hopefully this was helpful. Sorry, guys, I got to run. I am way past over my time limit. So I'll go back and verify on that one, though, Arab. Thank you for that. I'll go and take a look and confirm. For the rest of you guys, if you have midterms coming up, best of luck. If you have a midterm review and you want to send it over to me for me to make a review on, then go ahead and submit it to the link above me, and I will try to do my best to make something for you guys. But you guys keep on coming with all these questions, and unfortunately, I have to run. All right, guys, take care. Bye.